Welcome home to St. Anne's. We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you. All right. I'm coming, people. Oh, if you think I'm all drunk looking and crippled looking at 10 o'clock on Sunday, let me tell you what I'm like by the time I get to 7 p.m. It's really graceful, I'll tell you that. Oh goodness, lots of stuff going on in the Rhodes house right now. Bones falling out of our head, preparing for Lent, all sorts of things. Making dog treats. We're super busy today. Let's talk about Lent, shall we? And I have to be honest, every year, and I'm pretty sure I reference it every year in the sermons, about how ironic and potentially hypocritical I find it that we read this gospel on the same day that I put ashes on our forehead, and then we go out in public and don't tell me that you don't enjoy this as much as I do. When some stranger says, you got something on your forehead, and in great self-righteousness you proclaim, well, I went to Ash Wednesday services because I am a devout Christian. Not just any devout Christian. Nope. I'm either a Roman Catholic or an Episcopalian or maybe a Lutheran. But I am one of the real Christians, mind you. The ones where we really, truly follow Lent. And we do Ash Wednesday. You find joy in it. We all do. But it is literally what this gospel is referencing. And so I've always found it difficult and yet slightly funny to preach during that time. And you'll notice that we usually do our services in the evening, so I don't feel quite so guilty about it because I know everyone's just going to go home and wash their face and go to bed. So it's not as awkward as if, I did that at 7 a.m. and then you went to work all day and I went to work all day and we proceeded to be really self-righteous. But, so I have to be honest, this is the first year where I think this gospel really truly speaks to us, because you aren't going to get any points from anyone for practicing Ash Wednesday this year. Absolutely none. No one will know that you attended Ash Wednesday services unless you decide to write in the feed, in which those of us who are also participating in Ash Wednesday services at St. Anne's Online will know. But other than that, you're not going to get any street cred for anything that you're doing. So good news, you're not a hypocrite. And that's a big deal for us as Christians because, well, let's be frank. We get that label a lot, and we earn it a lot. So good news, tonight, you're not a hypocrite, at least for that anyway. So what do we do with this? And what do we do with Lent and all this stuff? Because I have to be honest, it feels like Lent never ended. It feels like Lent started last year and that we've just kept on doing it. I canceled Holy Week and I haven't seen any of you since. And I don't know if there's something that happened on Palm Sunday and I just haven't seen anyone since. But here we go. So what is Lent? And our service addresses that a little bit about what it is and the historical significance of it. But really, I want us to focus on it more because I think Lent goes two ways for us. One, we take it too intensely, and we see it as a time of great suffering and, sackcloth and ashes and hair shirts and beating ourselves and all sorts of intensity and just self-loathing and hate. Or we go the complete other way and we're like, that's stupid, I'm not wasting my time. And as you know, somewhere in the middle, generally speaking, is where the truth lies. So is Lent really about self-loathing? No, it isn't. Is it pointless and useless in our context? Absolutely not. It is incredibly important that we claim it and that we live it, because I'm sorry, we just can't, we cannot experience the resurrection truly without walking the way to get there. And there's a reason that Jesus goes into the desert. And we'll talk about that more as Lent continues. So I don't want to focus too much on that because then, I'll ruin my future sermons. And I've only got so much to work with here, people. But I want us to really focus on how do we enter into a Holy Lent. And I think our gospel has a lot to say about that because it's all about intention, isn't it? And in fact, earlier this evening, my daughters and I were talking about, are you giving something up for Lent? Are you taking something on? What are you going to do for Lent? And there was a discussion because one of my daughters has decided to give up sugar. And one was like, well, that's not going to bring you any closer to God because the whole point of this is to bring you closer to God. And so the conversation continued. Well, but yeah, it does. If the consumption of sugar is so all-consuming to you that that's what you think about all the time, and let's be real, we're Americans. It's what we think about all the time. If we're not thinking about sugar, we're probably thinking about trans fats. And if it's that obsession that you are focusing on and saying, you know what, I really, because I'm distracted by that and I'm focused on that, really focusing on that for Lent and giving that up or refocusing that time, that energy on God will bring me closer to God. Absolutely, that's 100% accurate. If, however, you failed at your New Year's resolution of losing 15 pounds, and this is your second crack at it, you're like, I'm going to lose 15 pounds for Lent. I'm going to do it by not eating sugar. Probably not going to bring you closer to God. If your goal is to bring you closer to the pair of jeans that you haven't worn since college, that are in the back of your closet because you can't get rid of them, probably not about God. If, however, there are things that you know that you are so consumed by them that they are getting in the way of other things, then absolutely that is something to focus on. And I think that's the power of what our gospel talks about, the hypocrisy of why do we practice the religious practices that we practice? Do we do them? Do we get our Ash Wednesday crosses of ashes? Because they're a reminder, because it is a physical reminder of what it is that we are committing to and what we are being reminded that we are and where we're going? Or is it a way of marking for everyone else of how holy we are? And that matters. Intention matters. If you are giving alms, as the story talks about, if you're giving alms because you want the credit of giving money to the church, I'll be honest, I'm not going to not cash your check. I'm going to cash it anyway. But God might care. But if you're giving it because you know that that is a way to commit in every way to something that you believe in and that you want to support, that's different, right? So I want us, as we enter into Lent, to really be reflecting on what it is that we're going to do for Lent, whether it be giving something up or taking something on. And I know many people like to take on different reading practices, like reading a certain section of the Bible, or there are many, many books that are available that you could do a prayer study of or a reading study of. Maybe you do want to give something up. Any of those things are an option. Even if it means that you're going to set aside 5 to 10 minutes a day and meditate in quiet, in silence, whatever that looks like, I encourage you to think about something that you can do, because remember, this whole thing is about bringing us closer to God, because that's what this is about. It's all about stepping step by step by step to get us closer to the cross. We're walking with Christ to the cross. And to really, truly be able to experience resurrection, to really, truly be able to do the things that we are called to do, to proclaim what we are called to proclaim, it takes work. It takes preparation. It takes self-reflection. And to be honest, many of us do not enjoy self-reflection. It's kind of miserable. If you really, truly know something about yourself, it's kind of painful. And I'll give you an example. This is a teeny tiny one about how we all strongly dislike being real and honest. I went to the store the other day with my daughters, and I was really frustrated, right? I was looking for the correct parking spot to do the curbside pickup at Lowe's. Yeah, I know. My life is really hard. Let's talk about first world problems here, shall we? And I'm going to tell you about them. So my daughter's in the back seat, and she says they're over there, but I'm frustrated. And I said, no, I know they're over here. Stop talking. In fact, I may have uttered the phrase that is forbidden among all people of shut up. I may have. I don't know. I mean, I hate to she's over here saying you did. She was right. She was right. She was right about where the parking spots were. And can I tell you how hard it was to turn to a 6-year-old and say, you were right. I was wrong. And it is so very, very hard to do that. And this Lent, I want us to practice that. I want us to practice coming face to face with our true selves in whatever way helps you get there. Be it reading the Psalms every day, all the way through, all the way through Lent. Be it choosing a book of the Bible and reading through it. Being committed to following Lent Madness, which is a really, really fun way of doing Lent. And I strongly recommend Lent Madness, but I also recommend a spiritual practice too. Giving something up that you're really attached to. I'll tell you one that I gave up years and years and years ago, and you may or may not think that this was a good thing for me to give up. Years and years ago in my first church, I had a parishioner who said, why don't you preach without notes? And I said, because I love words. I can't give them up. I wrote all my sermons, and I was very, very attached to the way that they went, because if you know me at all, you know I love words. And I love the way they flow, and I love using just the right word in just the right way. And he said, but when you do it on Wednesdays during our Wednesday service, you don't use notes, and it's frankly better. Like, you get really to the heart of things, and it's better. And so that Lent, after much reflection, I mean, I blew him off at first. I'm not gonna lie. Sorry, Bob. I really reflect on it, and I said, okay, I'm going to do it. So for Lent, I gave up writing my sermons. And frankly, it just kind of stuck. And I rarely write sermons anymore. But because I realized that my attachment to those words, I love to write. And my attachment to those words was my attachment to those words. And it got in the way of my being able to say something that came to my heart that I needed to say. It prevented a lot of the sermons that I preach happened because something happened in the last couple of days, maybe in the last couple of hours before that service started. Sometimes my sermons come from the very feeling of that morning, that congregation. Maybe they need something different than what I thought about early in the week. My attachment to my words and that piece of paper prevented me from saying and doing what God may have been calling me to say or do. So there was something in me that was getting in the way of me being closer to who God called me to be. So my challenge for us as we walk into Lent is to do some self-reflection, to really think about what are the things that are getting in the way. Not necessarily bad things, but things that are just kind of that hiccup that prevents us from taking that next step. And I ask us to examine them. I'm not asking you to give them up forever. I'm not asking you to become a perfect Christian. Let's be honest, we've earned the title hypocrite, and I would hate for us to give it up forever, even if we gave it up for one Ash Wednesday. But I ask us to reflect on that and to really, truly commit to figuring out how to walk closer side by side with Christ to the cross. I'm not giving up coffee, though, at all. We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you.